Hello and welcome. Pharmaceutical companies conduct clinical trials, and a lot of data has been coming out from those efforts, but it's only recently that those clinical trials are beginning to produce more insights thanks to artificial intelligence and machine learning and all that interesting stuff. So let's find out a little more about what's happening here and where this world could go in coming years. And to do that, I'm joined by Scott Sandschafer, CTO for pharmaceutical giant Novartis. So Scott, thank you very much for speaking with us.
Thank you.
So tell us, I mean, so where is technology meeting healthcare today, and in the way that you're able to see more data and get greater insights from that data?
Well, in Novartis and in the healthcare or pharmaceutical industry, obviously the importance of completing clinical trials and getting information from patients, as you described in your intro. The opportunity to take wearables and take information, also real-world evidence that's coming from hospitals as well as other locations, to be able to correlate the information coming from our clinical trials as well as coming from wearables from patients as well as in other data sources, to be able to correlate where that information is occurring and coming from, to be able to see the data insights, to see where current medicines that we're researching or medicines that we even have in the market, and whether there's different use cases or uses of those medicines to be able to fit an unmet need.
Right. Can you give us an illustration of that?
Yeah, a perfect example is let me give you one example. For example, clinical trials. If we look at clinical trials, we have to determine which is the best sites for us to perform a clinical trial. And as part of that, sometimes it's a challenge to be able to enroll patients because depending on the location of the clinical trials. So we're using advanced analytics to be able to see where is the best place to put the clinical trials, where it's most likely for us to be able to find and identify patients so that we can enroll them, get them and then enrolled, and then we can start the clinical trial as quickly as possible so we can bring the first finish the clinical trials and to be able to bring them to market as quickly as possible.
Right, and you talked about wearables. So tell us more about how are you using, when you talk about wearables, are you talking about what's available in the market and pulling data from that, or is this different?
Well, for a clinical trial, you need to have let's say a certified clinical trial or a wearable. But obviously, if you look, whether it's a Fitbit or an Apple Watch, individuals like ourselves as individuals can start to see biometrics that we could never see before. But obviously, when we look at a clinical trial, they need to be certified because of obviously the importance of the readings that are coming from the data. What is also a difference is that historically we've been able to, a person would go into a clinical trial once a month, we would have data readings, and that would be the point in time. Now with these wearables that we're able to monitor 24/7, associated and going to the cloud to be able to track the ups and downs of depending on what we're trying to measure to see whether the efficacy of the drug is effective is of a great benefit.
So what's the kind of time saving in this, and how has this changed, let's say, in the last 3 or 4 years?
Oh, it's a tough question. Going
the efficiency
from an idea of a molecular entity, and it could range between 8 to 12 years to be able to take an idea through a clinical trial into to a market. And our hope is that we're able to cut that dramatically down. Of course, we've just started to leverage these different technologies, so I think it will be proven over the next couple of years to see how well and how much we've shortened it. But there's no question our ability to shorten reduces the amount of time and the effort and the cost for us to develop drugs that obviously can help humankind.
Right. So if you go beyond clinical trials, what are the other areas that companies like yours are looking to use AI or robotics to help either understand the patients better or the process better or the product better?
So I think robotics is a great example. So recently we have established a robotics COE and our ability to look at how we look at patient safety. And there's times where there's adverse events that we're obligated to track those adverse events, and the number of different times that the paper or piece of paper that's sent in, or whether it's via fax or whether it's via phone, transitions from one person to the next, and our ability to automate and roboticize, thank you very much, is of extreme importance. And that's something that we feel that we've been one of the first pharmaceutical industries to leverage that process, because obviously this is a regulated process, and be able to use robotics in this area is a great start for us to be able to extend beyond this area into others.
Right. So if I were to ask you to look ahead and say, what are the key opportunities or challenges where you see, again, the merging of technology and healthcare, and where would you, as the CTO, best like to or most likely use some of these tools or technologies?
I think there's a couple of areas of challenge, and companies of size and scale of our own is first focused on the business processes and standardizing and commonizing the business processes. And In certain companies, those have not been done, and obviously when you don't have common processes, the underlying data is not consistent, and that's the other area, to be a custodian as well as to be able to drive insights, to make sure that your data and your understanding of the data is of good quality.
And if you were to, again, you're a global company and you have obviously a very, very wide footprint. When you look at data coming in from multiple locations, sources, countries, are you able to form new learnings and new insights maybe compared to earlier and also faster?
Well, I think that's a great example of where we're looking at clinical trials. So before, and assess where the clinical trials should be, before it was managed locally, not having the insights. Now, as commonizing the processes as well as the associated data, we can make better decisions of what sites should be leveraged.
Right. And if I were to ask you broad trends that you're looking out for, in some ways within healthcare and maybe in some ways outside, for let's say the 2018-19 period, what would they be?
Broad trends?
Trends, yeah. What technology trends that you would be watching carefully that could affect you or you could benefit from?
Well, I think around machine learning is obviously an incredible opportunity for us. Also, advanced analytics around AI is also a nice opportunity. But I think the robotics, we're doubling down on robotics, the opportunity to drive efficiencies so we can transform the savings that we would have in robotics to be more investments in our research and development.
Right, Scott Sandschafer, thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, my pleasure. Thanks.